freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome back to the First Cut Podcast. My name is Kyle Porter. I'm filling in as the host for Rick Gehman, but I've got Mark Immelman here. Mark, first round recap, 3M Open. How we doing?
I'm good. I'm filling in for analyst Kyle Porter. It's nice to be back with you boys, huh?
It's musical chairs on the First Cut Podcast today. It was interesting. This tournament is not. It doesn't always produce the greatest fields, and yet the leaderboard right now is pretty interesting. You know, it's got some intriguing storylines. It's got some big names. It's got some guys that are playing well. I'm going to give you the option here of where we start. The first round, there was really a real difference between the morning and afternoon wave. The afternoon, the wind really picked up, and scoring was just more difficult in that wave. So a lot of the scores you see on the leaderboard or at the top of the leaderboard are from the morning. So I'm going to give you a dealer's choice here: Justin Suh, Nick Hardy, Billy Horschel, Hideki, and Tony Finau. Which of those guys would you like to talk about?
Oh, goodness gracious me. Well, all of them intriguing in their own way. I almost want to let you have that and just say this golf course is, I don't want to say it's hitters only, but in years past, you look at the guys that have played well. You know, first edition of this thing, we had, it wasn't the first edition, but we've had Matthew Wolff and Colin Morikawa go out of playoff. Michael Thompson, somewhat reliable from tee to green. You've got Tony Finau as one here before. And a lot of those guys are all good ball strikers. And in the morning, you got a group of guys in some receptive conditions that could get busy. Then in the afternoon, this is what normally happens around here because it's exposed, it's flat out there, and the winds kick up in the afternoon. And ahead of the storm system that was off to whatever side of the golf course it was, it got downright difficult. And it was challenging for golfers. So it was fun for me to see. But you can pretty well set your wristwatch on the wind kicking up in the afternoon. And so for guys, as we venture into the tournament, you're going to have to bring your ball striking boots with you.
Yeah, you are. JT, by the way, is finishing up. We'll talk about him in a second. He's finishing up on 18, just having a long eagle putt, fairly short. One question I had for you, Mark, is when you, and I think people would be interested in this, when you are watching a tournament the first couple of rounds that you're going to call on the weekend, what are you looking for? Are you looking at individually who's popping off? Are you looking at how the course is playing? Like, what's your where do your eyes go whenever you look at the first two rounds of a tournament like this?
Kyle, that's a really good question. And I guess through my years of doing PGA Tour radio before I got into television, it always, I remember, because I was sort of the beginner and the rookie on the group, so I always got the not so good group. And then they'd get off to a flower. I'm like, yeah, we are going to be in contention. And then guys sort of fizzle out. And this was on a Sunday. And it's occurred to me more and more now. I kind of knew this deep down, but now it's galvanized inside of my soul. The Thursday, Friday, the real stars, they're just trying not to do themselves in. They want to start finding game over the weekend. I'll never forget, I had a brief conversation with Jack Nicklaus, and he said, honestly, he said, look, Thursday, Friday, I'm just trying to get through. He goes, I want to start playing well over the weekend. And then especially well Sunday. And then the really good ones, they start showing up with 9 holes to play. So long-winded to say Thursday, Friday, I'm just looking at trends. I'm looking how the golf course is going. I'm sort of looking how people look like they're swinging, because all of that, in my experiences through the years, it's somewhat of a predictor, but you never really know, because right now there's pressure for some. Look, because you got the finish line of the playoffs sort of looming large for certain guys. But for the guys who've been in the mix for a whole long time, they're just kind of playing through Thursday, Friday, trying to find a little something for the weekend. So I'm watching the course a lot, though.
And I think somebody that did that on Thursday is Tony Finau. I'd love to talk about him real quick, because he's somebody that, Mark, he hadn't had the best summer. You know, he wins in Mexico, and then he's hitting the ball well, but he's not really finishing up near the top of leaderboards. And then he comes out here and he's 6 under through his first 6 holes. And you're like, this guy might shoot 58, 57. and didn't go that well the rest of the way. He played the next 12 in 1 over, but still, to me, it's a great start for somebody who's the defending champion and somebody who really has to get mega hot over the next 4 weeks to play his way onto the Ryder Cup team.
It's a fantastic start for Tony, and to kind of get in behind your observation about how he's been playing. I had earmarked this guy for the longest time for one and done. And at the last minute, I did one of my stupid moves again. I pivoted for Sung JM just because of the way that Tony was somewhat unpredictable. But he does play his best stuff, in my estimations, on bent greens. And I saw some ridiculous number there. Finau, now, as we look at him, that you talk about that win there in Mexico, that was his only top 10 for like 8 events.
Yeah.
The rest of the stuff was pretty average. And coming in here, he's had 2 miscuts. Now, I know that there was sort of a bright spark and he hit some good shots there at the Open. But I think it's just a question of coming back to a course where he knows he can read the greens well. He's on bent grass. He's comfortable. So I feel like it's one of those things where everything sort of confluences in the area where it's like, man, I feel good. I won here last year. And the fairways are a little wider so he can drive it. We know he strikes the ball well. So I'm just keen to see how, he'll get in some wind tomorrow afternoon, then over the weekend. So that'll be the real barometer for where the game is for Tony as we look now into playoffs and then beyond that, the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, he needs to catch some fire this week. Good week to do it because he's obviously played well at this golf course. JT just finished up. I'd like to talk about him very briefly, even though he's not on this leaderboard. He shot 2. He 3-putted the last, shot 2 under 69 in the first round. He looked good at times. He was grinding, Mark. I mean, grinding, as you would expect somebody like him to be, as he's trying to get into the playoffs, Ryder Cup, same thing as Finau. Just, I guess, what are your expectations for him the rest of the week? Because I think one thing we talked about on Tuesday with Rick and I talked about is, man, I have no idea what to expect from JT. It's been all over the place, top 10 at Travelers, shooting in the 80s elsewhere. Like, well, what are you thinking over the next 3 days for him?
Well, that has been the knock, because if you look, since the Memorial, for argument's sake, PGA he barely makes the cut, finishes 65th, I think it was. Then Memorial, he shoots 75, 73. US Open, 73, 81. So decent day, bad day. Then he plays well at Travelers, like you point out, but that 70 in round 1 was lethargic. Then he goes 76, 69. So one bad round, one good round. Then at the Open, it's the Scottish Open, he's grinding, shoots the final round of 73. Then at the Open, shoots at a abhorrent 82. So to be honest with you, I'm not so sure what to expect. What I have seen, now bearing in mind, don't scare me on Twitter if I've missed something, because I wasn't watching golf last week. I was on vacation. I noticed he's not left-hand low putting anymore. And I notice he's got a counterbalanced putter in his hand, of a very similar, not exact model, but a similar weighting system, looks like to me, to what Ricky Fowler's been using. Mm-hmm. So look, I still think JT's game goes as he putts. And that 3-putt you talk about at the last, after he's hit 2 beauties into the green there.
Yeah.
That stings, right? And that's going to sit with him, because he can't hit a shot right away and sort of get over that. So now he's going to be lamenting that thing over dinner. I just hope that doesn't carry into tomorrow, because I guess the point I was trying to make was he's been like decent, then one bad day, decent, then one bad day. Now it's decent in the wind. I'm keen to see how we go tomorrow morning, when the scoring should be better. But suffice to say, I see a guy who's working hard on his golf swing. I saw that in Scotland. There's a big pre-shot routine going on where it looks like he's trying to get the handle out and the shaft a little shallower going back. Not sure why he's doing that. And then, of course, the putter. Now he's went left hand low. He's aim pointing on the greens. Now he's got a counterbalance with a regular grip. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on here right now. So, look, he's Justin Thomas. I'll preface my observation with that. But right now, I'm honestly, I'm not sure. I'm a little undecided.
Yeah, I feel the same way. He currently, they haven't finished up round 1, but he's like 115th in putting and top 25 in tee to green play. So I think that's a little bit of what you're saying, of like, okay, you're hitting some good shots, but and we've heard guys talk about this over and over again, is when I'm not putting well, especially great hitters put so much pressure on themselves to hit it tight, And that's where you can get into trouble. That's where mentally it can kind of unwind a little bit. And listen, like there's a number of things probably wrong with JT's game right now, but I do wonder how much that lack of confidence in the putter is putting pressure on everything else.
You've hit the nail on the head there. And the one thing about this golf course, because as you just look at it from like the 36,000 foot view, it looks big. It's expansive, big greens, wide-ish fairways. Rough is dangerous in spots, but you can play from it. It's receptive because in the Midwest, you get summertime thunderstorms. So golf course is going to be soft. But the greens, if you're attacking without a certain amount of circumspection, there are a lot of humps and hollows and like fall offs off these big greens. And you can get on the wrong side of some holes and some slips very quickly.
Yeah.
And so then all of a sudden, you've hit a decent shot and you've just made a bogey, right? And then that gets in the mindset. Then you see 2 guys, 4 guys, 5 guys just hair past you on the leaderboard. Then you try and force again. So, the putter is going to have a big say-so. To me, I think in bigger events where par is more kind of the examination, you can get by some spotty putting if you're just a ball striker.
Yeah.
In a thing like this where you're going to have to do, 5-ish a day, I don't know what the average winning score is, but you got to get into the late teens, early 20s here. You can't be affording to 3 putts and stuff like that. It just makes life too hard.
Yeah, it's a great point. Okay, we're going to eventually get to our leader and look at the odds, but let's take a break and hear from our partners.
It's time. The best Transformers yet. There you go. Is now streaming on Paramount Plus.
This is gonna be fun, man.
Now let's talk to your manifestation. Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. Rated PG-13. Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
Okay, Mark. One guy did real quick. We're gonna talk about Lee Hodges. I got to get myself out of here, but Lee Hodges did shoot 63 early on Thursday. Clean card 63. He was awesome. I mean, 32, 31. He did talk afterwards. I was interested in this. Just talked about like, listen, this doesn't mean much. It doesn't mean anything. It's Thursday. I care about Sunday, and I kind of like it when guys speak like that, especially on a Thursday. He only has one top 10, or his last top 10 came in April at the Texas Open. Just does he have staying power up at the top of this leaderboard right now?
He does. And I look back at the body of work over his career. I mean, he was a stud at the University of Alabama on a really good golf team. He's come out and he's won some good events. The number of them slips my mind, but he's a fantastic ball striker. He's sneaky long, and he's got a lot of self-confidence. And I think that's born of the fact that in that Alabama program, you get to hang around with Justin Thomas's and Trey Mullinex's and that sort of crowd of the world. So, yeah, I feel like he belongs. He's talking a good game over there because a lot of guys on Thursday after a day like that would sort of give the trite answers. But if he's saying, yeah, I'm just shaping up for a weekend run, that speaks to someone to me who sort of has a lot of self-confidence. I will say this. I know his instructor, Stephen Purier, and I've known him for a long, long time. And Stephen is one of those Alabama sort of country boys that keeps the thing. It's very simple always. And so there's no overthinking in the Lee Hodges camp. So I feel like he's set up for a bit of a run, and he's watched all of his contemporaries play well. Guys he's beaten, and he's watched youngsters come out. So I'm sure there's some of that, on kind of on the bulletin board material going, hey, it's my time. Now, yes, it is Thursday. There's a lot of golf, but that was a fantastic start and a very tidy start because I saw some of it. It was a very well-crafted round.
Yeah, it certainly was. He's number 110 in the world right now. He's playing good golf. He finished, I'm going to read you his best OWGR finishes ever as a professional. T3 at the American Express last year. He won the Portland Open on the Korn Ferry Tour in 2020. T7 at the CJ Cup last year, but this season. T12 at the Memorial this year, T6 at the Texas Open this year, T13 at the St. Jude last year, and then T12 at the Scottish Open this year. So it's the recent form, even though there's not been a lot of top tens, is actually the best that he's ever played. The problem for him will be the fact that he's got Hideki behind him. He's got Finau behind him. He's got, Brant Snedeker's playing well. There's just a lot of guys coming up behind him. Nick Hardy played great that are going to be, it's just going to be difficult to maintain that lead throughout.
Yes, I agree with you, but I will go back to what I was saying about him and Steven, where they just keep it the thing. And, despite the names behind, you just got to go and post scores. And it's very easy for me to say that, I know. But if you keep your head down and you keep hitting good shots and stuff like that, and you hit the right shot at the right time, you set yourself up for a Sunday run. Then all bets are off. The last time, was it last year? Yeah, Finau won last year. Mm-hmm. I had Finau on the final day, and he was sort of in it, but not really because, goodness, his name's slipping my mind. He had a big lead.
Sung Jae was up there.
Scott Piercy had a massive lead, and Piercy made a bogey on 10, I think, from nowhere. Hit it in the water on 13 or 14, the par 4. And all of a sudden, Tony's buried a 50-footer for the lead.
Yeah.
He's one ahead. Then he makes another birdie and wins by a few, kind of at a canter. So it's just about making numbers. Let the players do the players thing. And then you only start counting players on Sunday if there's like 4 or 5 in front or whatever the case might be.
Yeah. Well, speaking of bets, we've got a betting board to take a look at, Mark. We have Hideki Matsuyama, who we haven't talked about yet, as the favorite. He's one back of Hodges right now. He's 4-1. Tony Finau 9-1. Emiliano Grillo, who's playing really good golf this summer. Colonial, he was good at the Open. And then you got Lee Hodges at 10-1, and then on down to Justin Sudd 18, Kevin Streelman 18. And on down the board. Does anything on this board stick out to you after round one?
Yeah, Vincent Norman at 20.
Yes.
2800. I'd been blowing this guy's trumpet for the longest time. After watching him play Division II golf at Georgia Southwestern down the road from me over here, he's a star. And he just needed that one chance, and he took it last week. And he's a roommate. In fact, Ludwig Aberg had moved into his house. And to watch Ludwig, not cleaning up, but playing great, I'm sure must have grinded his rear end because they play together and he's equally as good. And so to see Vincent win, which was awesome, and to finish it off, he didn't fall into that victory. And now follow that up in a feature group today with a very good round. I was like, hell yeah, go boy. Because he, what he did do in college, granted, it wasn't at the blue chip level, but he's still winning. When he won once, he won in bunches. So he's jumping out to me. Hideki just looked flawless. I watched a little bit, I watched him play. And when Hideki gets going like that, he's one of those golfers, everyone has reverse, that reverse gear there somewhere. There are very few golfers that don't have reverse when they're going well. He's one of them. Spieth is another. When Spieth gets to the lead, it's not often he goes away. When he's on the leaderboard, he doesn't disappear.
Yeah.
Hideki's one of those guys, and I feel like he's in for the long haul this week.
Yeah, I probably Nick Hardy sticks out to me, 25-1. Very good young player. He got a huge, I don't know if you want to call it a break. He hit the shot of the year from behind a tree.
Ben Club.
On his last hole to shoot. What did he end up shooting? 65. He was 6 under. Yeah. So, maybe a break like that leads to a win on the weekend. Maybe you look back and say, man, I kind of stole probably 2 shots there really to make 3 from where he was. But yeah, Hardy at 25, I think Norman at 28 is interesting. I don't know. Finau and Hideki are a little bit short for me, but, yeah, everybody else on that is pretty interesting.
If I could jump in on Hardy real fast, there's something about the Midwesterners and the guys who play in these sorts of conditions. I ask a lot of them. You put them in Detroit, you put them here, you put them in Chicago, those sorts of areas. The golf courses have a similar sort of a flow and feel to them. So I'm sure it's very comfortable for him over here, having gone to university at Illinois. So the conditions are comfortable. He'll have mates out there, I'm sure, too. But he was in a group in New Orleans. I think he and Davis Riley were partners, and they won the New Orleans event earlier this year. Everything's blurring for me right now. And he hits the ball really, really high, which was surprising to me. He's powerful, but it gets up in the air fast. And if the wind continues to go like it is now, I'm keen to see what he's like in the afternoon over the weekend.
Yeah.
So I'm torn on him. I'm like, conditions, heck yes, this suits him. High ball flight in the wind, I don't know so much. But he's a talented kid. Of that, I have no doubt.
Yeah, he is. Should be interesting. Okay, I gotta go do CBS Sports HQ. Mark, you gotta go prep for this weekend. Great stuff. We will be back each of the next 3 rounds. You'll have Rick back in the driver's seat, which will be better than me being in the driver's seat. But enjoyed it, Mark, and everybody have a good rest of your Thursday.